I always loved the Old Testament more than the New one. It's also something strange maybe but specifically some chapters about Abraham and his multiple wives, and like this picture of this old man with his beard and a clan of family and holding together in the surrounding as well, being dependent on one another, and this picture caught me, and going back to Islam was really going back home where I came from the feeling. And yeah, so there was not much of emptiness. I enjoyed the ibadah. I went fully into it. I was lucky that, alhamdulillah, Allah made it this way. I converted right at the end of my high school, so I had a lot of free time for a couple of months. And subhanallah, actually I was quick in marrying, alhamdulillah. Just 3 or 4 months after I finished my high school, I married, alhamdulillah. So my life was not boring. I had enough to do then, alhamdulillah.
So what are some advices you would give to non-Muslims?
There's a couple of things that I would say from my own experience. Number one, don't wait for a magic moment, for an angel coming down and proclaiming you should be Muslim now. Stick to what you have seen, understood as truth, and don't let it go. What is clearly an undisputed truth: there is one God and He created everything. Don't let go of that. And if you come to a topic that you don't understand, don't be shy to leave that topic without leaving what you have already found as truth. Because you will hit some topics that are controversial, that you don't fully understand, where there's maybe a lack of information or a lack of perspective. It will come, and you can ask God for that. The second point, never be shy and never be slow in asking God for continuous guidance.
Sirat al-Mustaqim, every day, 17 times.
Yes, correct, Allahu Akbar. Yeah, and you should feel this question. It should not be empty words. In the end, if you really want to come to God, leave the decision what is right for God. It's not your decision. It's His decision. You want to serve Him, He will lead you there if you really want to serve Him. Raise your hands and ask Him for guidance. Raise your hands and ask Him for the correct way. If you really feel that, without any preconditions what you would like to have, your only condition is to be with Him, He will lead you, definitely. And the last point, the point about science and the consensus of society. In the last century, big thinkers in the West continuously pushed this point, that we don't need a God. And there is an overall feeling of stupidity if you really cling on to that thought. It's not the natural viewpoint that there is a God, and please explain why there is not. It's now flipped, right? If you really hold the view that there is a God, then please explain something might not be right. The other thing is, of course, that we are in an age of information. There's a lot of information for everyone. A not well-defined belief cannot hold itself against science, and the problem is that Christianity does not offer much in that regard.
So did science play a big role in terms of moving people away from Christianity?
You have this very, this is basically the viewpoint or the point for any Christian now in the West, that they have to combine the scientific consensus with their belief, right? For them, they need to figure out a way to do that. Islam has answers for you there. You don't need to try to construct anything. For the basic Christian in the West, there is this challenge to say, yeah, I accept everything that the scientists say, and I will make it fit somehow. The other thing is that Christianity has a lack of clear defined points of belief, what you're actually believing in. You see, when you're discussing about Christianity and you go into the deep discussions, most of them are lost in words that have no meaning, that are not transporting a real concept. He is three but one but three. And you cannot separate him, but you should separate him. You know what I mean? It's words.
And they say it's a mystery.
Yeah, it's words, and the backup from whatever does not make sense is you just have to believe it. And you will feel the belief, it becomes emotional rather than, and you just accept it. So you will feel it's right. But this is the problem. You have that in contrast, in ages before, where there is not this strong consensus in science and the strong spread of certain logical patterns, how to analyze, now we are taught this way in school. We are taught to critically think. So the natural thing to do when you are coming from a religious background is you start dissecting the things that were taught in religious context. And you go there with the scientific methods you have learned. If there is no substance, logical and structural and substance in what you have as your belief, it will don't hold up. Then in the end you're just saying, I just have to believe. I still want to believe, so I just believe.
So there's a need of belief, so they just fill it up with the closest answer they have to them. When you say that most of them are atheists, then if you go deep into it, but most people don't. Most people, they don't go deep into what they should believe. They go through their daily lives, and science is not only the consensus, but whenever they look into it, it makes sense. So that's the answer for them. But if you go deep into it, then of course you will reach a level of analysis in science where any scientist of that specific field will say, until here, if you want to go deeper, we have to research more. We did not see the answers until now, right? So there is a bottom line of where they reach, and they would say we have not yet reached further, but in the end that is also in the end a belief. The closer you look to the creation, you will find God in the detail. You will see that there cannot be any other way than that God has created everything. There is no contradiction in what science finds and there being a God if you look close enough. All the big scientists in basically every field, from biology to physics to psychology, you always find these two groups. The one saying there is no God and we have not discovered the full truth, but we will keep looking. And the other group, there is a God, and we are only discovering what he has created. These are the two groups. There is no scientist in any field who says we have found the truth and there is no God. There is none, because in no field they have reached there. There is none like that. In whatever field you go, the maximum they can say, and they are saying, is we need to search more. We need to discover more. We will find yet another layer of depth that will explain the layer before it. So don't be afraid from claims from someone who thinks he knows science that there is no God. Look into this topic and you will discover God in the very detail. Thank you, Brother Abdul Malik, and Jazakallah khair for it.
Well, I was happy and my pleasure to be here, alhamdulillah, and to share my story in the hopes that would help people that are on the way, inshallah ta'ala, to be our brothers and sisters.